Hey, what's up, fellas? I'm Malicious Female Fan. Steve Malicious here, back with what I guess would be the 5-day review of the Galaxy Z Flip 3. We're going to get to battery life in just a moment, including one battery tip that helped me quite a bit. It could be more anecdotal, but I got a bit more, about a half hour extra of screen on time. We'll talk about that in a moment. Also, we're going to look at the camera, which I think is quite good on it, but we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But I wanted to kind of give a different perspective on this device as people start talking more and more about something with this form factor and really only the internal screen being usable, being more adopted by the mainstream. On this channel, if you watch a lot, we do a lot of Windows Phone videos, we do a lot of BlackBerry videos, and invariably there are comments, people saying, hey, I like a phone to just be a phone. I like the fact that Windows Phone isn't really supported anymore, that BlackBerry, especially OS 7, can only do so many things. It's nice to just have a phone that could do calling, texting, and maybe a couple photos, and that's pretty much it. Some light web browsing. There's something to be said for that. And there was a comment on the initial impressions video I did for the Z Flip 3 of a woman saying, I didn't really care so much about the screen on time being, 3-ish hours, whatever it happens to be, because it's nice to have a phone that could just be a phone. You don't have to worry about all the other stuff. And that's when you watch reviews here, we try to get to a theme for a phone, right? There's so many things that you could highlight on. Okay, how many times are you going to hear it's got a Snapdragon 888? How many times are you going to hear about the 8 gigs of RAM? That doesn't really tell the story, especially when you're talking about something with this form factor. So that's what stuck in my head, a phone that could just be a phone. Think about how low the barrier of entry is for the devices that we currently use now. Okay, you pick up something like this, you pick up rather, your OnePlus 9, regular just slab phone, you look at the thing and it unlocks, or you just hit the fingerprint sensor and you're in. There's no disincentive to check that Twitter feed for the 5th time in the last 10 minutes. There's no disincentive not to go on Facebook again and see how many likes something's got. There's no reason why you wouldn't just pick it up and give your LOL to that WhatsApp meme that you just received. There's literally no demand on your time. Now, even though this takes just a second, it's a deliberate act. And when you place a deliberate act like that, there's a value placed on that. So maybe, just maybe, you won't feel the need to go on there and like that Instagram post or respond to that Facebook message right away. You could use the outer display, see if it's an emergency, see if it's something you have to get back to or not. Then you can put it back in your pocket, put it down, and go back about your day. And unlike your feature phone, okay, your little Nokia bricks that they re-released, you're not having 1080p video of your daughter's graduation on that. Okay, on your KaiOS device, your singular Flip 4 is not going to be able to be a satisfactory experience going through a Google photo album that somebody sends you at an event. So unlike those devices, feature phones that you can't really gas up, this, when needed, and only when needed, can you turn it into a compromise-free solution so it's as smart as you want, when you want it, but if you want to disconnect and treat it more like a feature phone, you can. I think there's something to be said about that. And also, so if even one layer, the base layer of nonsense of how these phones kind of captivate our attention all day long, if you could even take out one layer of that nonsense, I think that might appeal to a lot of people. Plus, it's a flip. So you can kind of do the thing where you got this, and then you kind of open the rest of it on your body, and then you could go ahead and have that text conversation like back in the day that wound up costing your parents $25 without you knowing it. All right, so let's talk about battery life and camera right now. And we're back. I wanted to talk about battery life for the Z Flip 3. I finally it's a pretty steady number now after 5 days, and it has learned usage patterns. I still do expect it to get a little bit better, but I'll talk about the one thing that I found that helped me out on it. But when you're talking about battery life on this particular device, I saw a lot of noise on Twitter saying, well, people should be giving this device a hard time because of the poor battery or the screen on time. Samsung never came out and said, you're going to get 6 or 7 hours of screen on time on this device. Nowhere are you going to read that. So unless you were living under a rock or something, you just completely weren't paying attention. You knew what you're signing up for when you're getting this phone. When you're getting the Z Flip 3, You're not signing up for it to be a battery beast. And there's a difference between them not saying that you were going to get 6 and 7 hours of screen on time and the Google Pixel situation, because Pixel said that they put a feature in there that's supposed to work, and it doesn't work. And that's different from an expectation, an unrealistic expectation that you put on a device that the company never said anything about. So there is a distinct difference there between what happened with the Pixel 5a and that 4K nonsense and what you've got now with the Z Flip 3 and the battery. And I like the fact that we don't need phones to always strive to check every box for everybody. There can be a device like this for people who don't necessarily need 7 hours of screen on time. You could, and if you do, if you need a little extra, top it off, buy a case, get a battery bank, anything like that, and you could get yourself through the day. And there's also a market for people who want to get the Pixel 5a with its 9-10 hours of screen on time in the off chance you're lost in the woods or something. That's fine too. There could be devices for everybody, and as long as everybody's up front with what a device can and can't do, and that's what the point of the reviews are, then adults should be able to make their own decision. And I think there's plenty market, even at the 3 hours of screen on time, for a device like this. Okay, let's talk about what I've done here. So when I was running all the Samsung devices I've ever had, I've run, see, this got over Redline. I don't know how that happens, but I run it pretty much, let's see if we could get that. I run it, let's focus in. I run it pretty much just there at Redline. And I was getting the 3 hours, the 3 hours and 10 minutes. If you got a little heavy with the gaming, it was going to be under that. What I did, again, this is anecdotal, but it seemed to help me. I seemed to get an extra half hour of screen on time. Is watch the screen while I'm dragging this back, okay? So I got it locked in here, okay? Look at what I did there. So see where I am here? Go to here. Did you notice a lot of difference in the brightness of the screen? I didn't. It was very little. Not going to affect your overall viewing experience. But that little slide to the left wound up saving me that half an hour. I don't know if that's going to keep that way. I don't know if that was just coincidence of whatever my usage pattern for that day was. It's worked a couple days in a row now, so maybe you give that a shot. But know that if you're somebody like me who wants to run at full brightness and you like doing that, you should be able to do that on these devices and still get your enjoyment out of it. You're not giving up that much of it if you just kind of pay attention to where that slider is and move it back just a little bit. You're going to get just that much more battery, and I don't think you're going to sacrifice a whole lot of the experience. I don't subscribe to people who are just like, oh, turn it to 60 hertz, turn it down to 40% brightness, you can get 5 hours. At that point, buy a different device, unless really the sole purpose of it is for you to get that wow factor and the coolness of being able to flip it open. So at that point, I want to be able to, I'm not going to give them a hard time about the 3 hour screen on time, but at the same time, I want to be able to enjoy it. I want to be able to full up. I don't want to have to make that kind of compromise. At that point, I'm going to get a different device. So I don't have a problem necessarily with the 3 hours of screen on time for me. I could top it off. I could get a case. Always have a power bank around or a different device. It doesn't really make a difference. But you can back it off that little bit and still get, I think, the premium experience they were going for without completely nuking your battery. Camera, excellent. Excellent. Look at these shots. You got the flower there, and the AI was fantastic. It recognized stuff right away. You got cat, of course, always a cat, Xavi. The AI recognized cat. It recognized the flowers. It recognized, I don't know, it gave outdoor for the grill stuff, but you can see the colors, the sharpness. Really great stuff on these cameras. When we talk about cameras on different devices, whether it be iPhone, whether it be Pixel, and whether it be the Samsung devices, I know people are saying, well, this isn't the best camera system they have. That's on the S21 Ultra. And while that's true, technically, these shots, I'm still giving the double tap on the gram, right? And scrolling past. They're going to do what you want it to do. And it's not the runaway that it used to be. When the Pixel 2 XL came out, if your eyes were connected to your brain, you could objectively tell that that was a generation ahead of what the others were providing. That's not the case anymore with a lot of these cameras. A lot of people have caught up and learned the magic of computational photography, and they've started to use it to sharpen their image, make them nice, make them rich. You got HDR on all these devices now. So you're going to get, regardless of what it is, don't listen too much about, well, it's not the top of the line camera on the whatever. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Look at the images. Know you're still getting a quality image and you'd have to be some sort of professional to do this all day and throw it in Adobe Lightroom to really determine a difference a lot of times with good light on a lot of these photos. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you have stuff that you want checked out, specific games for the 2-week review, because that's what I'm going to have to break it down to. I think I'm going to do a 2-week and kind of go more in depth on the usability over 2 weeks, how it feels on flipping, all the rest of it. We did talk about how that little disconnect thing, does that get old? I personally don't think so, but we'll see. Until next time, have that Steve-alicious day.